Hey, what's going on, guys? Drum Gaming here, back in another video. Today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at Restoration Shaman for Season 3 of The War Within. We're just going to do a complete beginner's guide. Done a bunch of these in the past. Going to be same sort of deal with this one. But if you're thinking about playing Resto Shaman, this will be a good guide. If you're a beginner, if you're an advanced player, you might learn some things with this. But to be honest, this is mainly going to be for beginners. So, really quick, what has changed in Season 3 for Restoration Shaman? Not much has changed. We did get an update to our Healing Tide Totem. It does a little bit more healing in smaller groups. So, in Mythic Plus content, we did get a buff. Outside of that, that's the only change we got. Okay, let's go in here and just kind of start from the top and just kind of go through some of our different abilities. I'm not going to go through every little thing here. I'm just going to try to talk about some of your core abilities. So first thing we're going to talk about here is a spell called Riptide. So what Riptide does is it's got 2 charges on a 6-second recharge. You put it on a target, it does healing over time. So I'll put this on myself. You see I have this hot effect on myself now that's ticking down. And you see that I got 2 charges of something called tidal waves. This is very important to understand. And this is probably I don't want to say it's the core, but it's one of the core things that you need to understand about Resto Shaman. So let's understand what tidal waves actually is. So tidal waves is going to be over here on the right. Let's just read it out. Casting Riptides grants 2 stacks of tidal waves. Tidal waves reduces the cast time of your next healing wave or chain heal by 20%, or increases the critical effect chance of your next healing surge by 30%. Now, one trap that people kind of fall into when they're just kind of starting out playing Restoration Shaman is they're going to start using their healing wave a lot. So healing wave, let me just find it really quick. If you are doing Mythic Plus content, healing wave is something that for the most part you could just take off your bars. This is a very mana efficient spell. However, more times than not, when you're actually doing decently hard content, you're not going to have any time to use the spell. So in lower content, you can use it. It's okay. But really, you need to start practicing not to rely on Healing Wave for its mana efficiency. And you really need to understand that most of your healing is going to come through spells like your Chain Heal and your Healing Surge. So let's go back really quick. Let's put another Riptide on ourselves. Go back to Tidal Waves. So Healing Wave is out of the picture. Let's talk about Chain Heal and Healing Surge. So Chain Heal is really good. You can see as we cast Chain Heals, it's taking away these stacks of Tidal Waves. So each Chain Heal that we cast is going to be reduced by 20%. You can use a stack of tidal waves. Now, the same can be said for Healing Surge. So as I use Healing Surges, those stacks start to go down. So typically, you want to use Chain Heal for AoE healing, and you want to use Healing Surge for big burst single target healing. Now, one thing that you do have to be careful with is Chain Heal is very expensive. Healing Surge is expensive as well. But you actually get more value for Healing Surge. And the reason you get more value out of Healing Surge is due to, if we go back to Tidal Waves, Healing Surge has a chance to critical strike. There's a high chance to critical strikes. That's all free healing, essentially. Your Chain Heal just casts faster. So it doesn't have that increased critical strike chance. So that means Healing Surge is much more efficient to use than Chain Heal. Now, there's a lot of other things that go into your mana regen. That's also talents like Resurgence here. The more you critical strike, the more mana you get back. So that's why it's very important to prioritize critical strike. That's going to be one of the main stats that you focus on. And I did actually make a couple of talent changes here. But this right here is just going to be a pretty good general setup. Right now, we are running Totemic over Farseer still in Season 3. There were really no Season 3 changes, so we're just going to continue to stick with Totemic. But yeah, we'll get into all the crazy talent stuff here in a minute. I'm going to go back to like some of the base stuff, right? Like some of your base spells. So we've talked about Riptide. We've talked about Healing Surge. We've talked about Chain Heal. We've talked about Healing Wave. So now I want to talk about our Healing Stream Totem. So Healing Stream Totem actually does kind of stem off the Totemic tree, so we do need to talk about it. This is coming from Lively Totems. So when you summon a Healing Tide Totem, Healing Stream Totem, Cloudburst, or Spirit Link, we're going to cast a free instant cast Chain Heal at 100% effectiveness. So first, let's understand what Healing Stream Totem is. So Healing Stream Totem is going to be, it's basically going to work off charges. You're going to get 2 charges of this. and you're just simply going to drop it down and it's going to radiate and kind of pulse out some low to moderate healing. Now, when you place this, the chain heal will go out. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. We'll place it. And you saw the link there. You saw all those links. That was the chain heal being cast. This is your most efficient, mana efficient way to cast chain heal. The other most mana efficient way to cast chain heal is when you get a high tide. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But healing stream totem is anytime it's available and you need group healing, make sure you're prioritizing a healing stream over a hard casted chain heal. You want to limit the amount of hard cast chain heals that you cast. Again, not mana efficient. So we talked about that. I want to talk about high tide now. So this is important too. This is one of the rare instances or cases where it is actually mana efficient to hard cast a chain heal. So high tide, every 1 million mana you spend brings a high tide, making your next 2 chain heals heal for an additional 10% and not reduce with these jumps. So let's go ahead and get a high tide to proc really quick. We'll just start spending a whole bunch of mana here. We're almost there, I promise. Actually, yeah, here it is. So this little blue wave icon, you can see we get 2 charges of high tide over here in the top right. So this means our next 2 chain heals are going to be extremely beefed up, and they're still expensive, right? They're still 126,000 mana, but they are going to do way more healing than just a normal just base chain heal, essentially. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is our Surging Totem. So Surging Totem is very expensive. It's even more expensive than our chain heal, but it's something that you do actually want to keep down as much as you can in Mythic Plus, because there's a lot of things that's happening with Surging Totem that's not necessarily obvious. So if you look in the top right, we have Whirling Earth, Whirling Air, Whirling Water. So Earth, your next chain heal applies Earth Living at 150% effectiveness to all targets hit. Whirling Air, cast time of your next healing spell is reduced by 40%. Whirling Water, your next healing wave or healing surge also heals an ally at 100% additional effectiveness. So, with that being said, you do get a lot of buffs through Surging Totem, and even though it is pretty expensive, a lot of the times it is worth it to drop this and consume those buffs, right? That's a lot of free healing that you're getting from Whirling Earth. That's a lot of free healing you're getting from Whirling Water. And then Whirling Air, there's no mana efficiency with Whirling Air, but it is nice to get that reduced cast time on your next spell. You do also have a lot of other things that do synergize with Surging Totem. You get Amplification Core, which is going to increase all your healing done by 3%, right? There's a ton of mana efficiency in that. You also get your Pulse Capacitor, increase the healing done by Surging Totem by 25%. There's mana efficiency in that. Whirling Elements, which we just talked about. Those different motes that kind of fly around the totem that you can consume. So on surface level, it does not look very mana efficient, but it actually is pretty mana efficient to use the spell. And yeah, that's a lot of the core of Resto Shaman right there. That's pretty much it. That's one thing I love about Resto Shaman is that sure, there is a lot of buttons and stuff to press, but that's pretty much how you play it, right? You put Riptide on targets, and then you make the decision to Healing Surge or Chain Heal them. You use Healing Stream Totem pretty much on cooldown when healing's needed, and you use your your Surging Totem with Downpour pretty much on cooldown as well. So just to show you a typical gameplay loop, right? Let's say I'm a target, I'm about to die. I'd Riptide. I'd cast 2 Healing Surges on myself. Then I would Riptide again, and I'd cast 2 more Healing Surges, right? And we're playing around the Tidal Waves proc here. So 1, 2. Oh, let's say our group needs healing now, so we'll always refresh with Riptide, and now we'll Chain Heal, and we'll consume our 2 High Tide procs. So just a kind of simplified, condensed version of this is single target button, AoE healing button, AoE healing button, AoE healing button. And make sure you weave Riptides in between Healing Surge and Chain Heal. At its very most core, Resto Shaman is these 3 buttons right here. Riptide, Healing Surge, Chain Heal.